Good evening, my name is Raul Acosta. I'm currently attending Lehman College, CMP 168. I created a game called Minesweeper, which basically is a puzzle game where we clear the boxes without detonating any of the bombs or else we lose. I will now show you how the program works. In this class called Grid, it basically is a program which basically sets the layouts and functionality of the Minesweeper grid. I used java.util.random to get random numbers for every round of the game. I created an instance variable for the class grid. I also created final variables for rows and columns and bombs. Since it's going to be 10 by 10 grid, I set the rows and columns to 10. For every round in the game, there will be exactly 25 random bombs located at each box in each game. The next thing I did was set the constructors. Here we will use the constructor to initialize the instance variable when we call it. The next thing I did was use getters to return the instance variable, so we will return all the instance variable provided in the beginning. So for this one, in a second, for public boolean to the array get boundary, we are creating another array of the same size of the original array and copying all the values from the original to the copy. And want to return the value and return copy. We do the same thing for get count grid. We do the same thing for get count grid and create another array and copy all the values from count grid method, which is the original to the array. So for is bomb allocation, we check if there's a bomb at the position, and if there is, we return bomb grid with the position of row and columns. Now we create a bomb grid. I created an array of both rows and columns. I looped for both columns and rows, and I incremented by 1. So for this one, we need to generate a random bombs. So what I did was I used a random method which Java provides already. We go through an array. If there's a bomb, we keep incrementing. If there is not a bomb, then we set the value that corresponds. So this is very interesting here. So to create a count grid, I loop to all the count grid rows and columns. I use the nested for loops. Let me see exactly here. I use the nested for loop. I use the nested for loop. Give me a second. Let me show you right. Okay. I use the nested for loops, which goes through the rows and columns and which assigns each space of numbers based on the surrounding mines. So for example, in a mines, there's a bunch of numbers. If it's on the top left corner, the maximum number of mines you could have is 3. So it's going to be 1, 2, and 3, counting diagonal left and right. So that's where restriction comes in. And I use this, well, I commented already. This is what I used for testing. The next class is called GUI. This is where like the fun begins. This is where everything, you set the windows and everything out. So I created another class. I created another class called GUI. From here is where all the functions and methods will be called out from with the GUI. There's a lot of options we could take. I use JFrame in order to create buttons, text fields, and at the end to close the window. I also use the border layout to place my component so it looks more organized. I use the J panel to put boxes and enter components. We set the size to 400 by 500 megapixels and set it so it will pop up when we call it. To start a game, we must hide all the bombs and numbers inside the J panel. Here we know to run a game, we must click We must click a certain amount of times depending the amount of rows and columns minus the numbers of bombs. So here, so if you have like a 10 by 10 column, so it's going to multiply the rows and columns. It's going to be 100 row minus the bound, which was 25 originally, or whatever we pick. So in this case, will be 75 times. The next thing we need to add, next we need to add all the button to the grid. So when we check the box, if we pick the bomb, I set it to 0, and if it's not a bomb, I set it to 1, and the game continues. So here to click to win, if it's a bomb, we set it to 0 and you automatically lose, which here I set it. And if we win, I set it to 1. And here are the options I made if it's 0 or 1. So if it's 0, it will print out game over, would you like to play again. However, if you the player 1, which I wrote commented here, the player 1, which is equal to 1 like here, I will say you won, would you like to play again, which is here message, would you like to play again. So you have an option. Well, it's going to give you an option whether you want to play again or not. And this is where the last piece comes in, where it gives you that option where to click yes or no. So basically, hold on, okay. So if the user reply yes, the grid panel option will add all the new button back and the J panel back to start a brand new game. However, if the user press no option, then the game will end and the window will close. So here I use the system.exit to close the window, and that's how it finished. And just to make sure, I want to run this program just to show you. Quick second. I set it up in the center, so it makes it more nice. So this is a 3. Let me get a little closer. So I lost, and this gives me actually you lost, would you like to play again. If I could click yes, it's gonna restart the game all over again. So I got 3. Okay, now it says let me play yes. Let me pick a little bit of numbers. Okay, now it says you lost, would you like to play again. I will click no, and the game will automatically close, and that will be the end of the game. Thank you.